and they wonder why we don't trust health insurance companies. I'm going to tell you a story about Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the largest health insurer in the state, covering about 3.8 million people, about 40% of New Jersey. And I'm going to tell you how a pattern of bad decisions, shady deals, and corporate spin led to hundreds of people losing their jobs. The company promising the general public that they would take care of these workers, but then offering them a legal document designed to silence them in exchange for what the law already guarantees them. Now, before I go any further, my name is Julio Valdivieso. I'm an attorney with almost 25 years' experience. But what I'm about to share with you is not legal advice. It's simply me, deeply bothered by what I've learned about this company, bothered by how they've treated their workers, their customers, and New Jersey taxpayers, and thinking you might be bothered too when you learn what I've learned. Stick around to the end. You may also learn how to protect yourself against some shady techniques that companies like this may use to take advantage of you if you ever get laid off. Let me take you back to 2020. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey was operating as a health service corporation, which, under the New Jersey Health Service Corporations Act, New Jersey Statute 1748E, was required to be not for profit, required to operate for the benefit of its subscribers, its customers. Kevin Conlon, the chairman, president, and CEO, had recently secured a major exclusive contract to administer health benefits for hundreds of thousands of New Jersey public workers. That's teachers, police officers, firefighters, state employees. The contract had a key protection for taxpayers, though. Horizon could only bill the state for the lesser of two amounts, either the negotiated rate with the hospital or what the hospital actually charged. Simple enough, right? We pay the smaller number. That was the deal. Now, according to former New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin, though, Horizon allegedly knew before they signed that they couldn't comply with that requirement. They allegedly analyzed their own data, saw the problem, and signed anyway. Kevin Conlon leaves that problem for new president and CEO Gary St. Hilaire, though. And on April 6, 2020, Kevin transitions to executive chairman of the board at Horizon so that he can focus on trying to restructure the company. That year, Kevin makes a cool $5 million plus in total compensation, while Gary gets almost $3 million for his less than 3/4 of the year on the job. Now, the next year, Kevin safely retires in March 2021, and in April 2021, the state of New Jersey starts investigating into issues related to that big state contract we talked about. In November 2021, six whistleblowers, including Chris Deacon, a former state treasury official who had overseen the health plans, file a lawsuit under the New Jersey and federal False Claims Acts as private citizens, alleging that Horizon had defrauded the government. The lawsuit drags on while New Jersey keeps investigating for years. Meanwhile, the New Jersey Department of Banking and Insurance still approves Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield's restructuring into a not for profit mutual holding company in November 2022, fulfilling Kevin Conlon's vision. Under this new structure, Horizon gained the flexibility to own stock in, create, or acquire for profit subsidiaries. And Horizon argued that it would now be able to scale investments in a way that allowed it to better compete with national for profit insurers. Critics at the time said this change could shift Horizon's focus away from its subscribers, but they were told not to worry. Even under this new structure, Horizon still had a legal obligation to prioritize its policyholders. By the end of 2022, Gary St. Hilaire has made just under $5 million in total compensation for the year. Now, by mid 2024, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey had lost its exclusive contract with the state, but allegedly, for 4.5 years, they submitted over 1,000 false claims for payment and sent fraudulent paperwork to plan members misrepresenting how much the state was actually paying for their care. In just one example from court documents, a plan member went to New York-Presbyterian Hospital. The hospital billed $674,000. We're not going to get into actual hospital bills today. That's another subject. Horizon requested, and the state paid over $2 million, a $1.35 million overcharge on a single claim. Multiply that across billions of dollars in provider charges, and you start to understand the scale of what the lawsuit was alleging. In October 2024, S&P Global Ratings revised Horizon's credit outlook from stable to negative. That's a financial warning signal, a check engine light. S&P said Horizon's operating performance was falling below expectations, particularly in their Medicaid line of business. And the numbers in Horizon's own state filed financial statements confirmed it. Horizon Healthcare Services recorded a net loss of over $302 million in fiscal year 2024, compared to a profit of $179 million the year before, a negative swing of nearly $500 million. With all this going on, current and former employees have shared that their bonuses and raises were squeezed during this same stretch of time. They were told it was due to financial pressures and the need to cut costs. But President, CEO, and by this time also Chairman Gary St. Hilaire, he still took home $6.8 million that year. So, rank and file employees were told to tighten their belts, while the CEO's pay went up by nearly $2 million in 2 years. In November 2025, the state of New Jersey officially intervened in the lawsuit, and Horizon agreed to pay $100 million to settle the case. New Jersey's Attorney General at the time called it the largest non-Medicaid False Claims Act settlement in New Jersey history. AG Platkin said, and I'm quoting, "It is simply unacceptable that an insurance company would seek to defraud our state and overcharge us while driving up the cost of healthcare for hundreds of thousands of dedicated public servants." The Communications Workers of America, representing thousands of those state workers, called it staggering and infuriating. Horizon called it a straightforward contract dispute and said the AG was distorting the facts. What's undisputed? They wrote that check. The next month, December 2025, St. Joseph's Health System, including two major hospitals in Patterson and Wayne and hundreds of providers, announced that they would be leaving the Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield network entirely, affecting nearly 100,000 patients. St. Joseph said Horizon's reimbursement was too low, had not kept pace with inflation, and was inadequate for quality care. Nevertheless, both parties continued to try to negotiate in good faith until the continuation period on the expired agreement was over on March 1st, 2026. What a way to wrap up 2025. I wonder how much Gary St. Hilaire took home last year. In January 2026, CVS Pharmacy announced that it was going out of network for more than 850,000 Medicaid patients on Horizon's plan. Children, disabled adults, low income families who depend on state funded healthcare. CVS said Horizon offered them rates that were unsustainable. And yet, CVS stayed in network with every other New Jersey Medicaid plan. Aetna, WellPoint, United Healthcare, all of them kept CVS. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield was the only one that lost it. It is important to note that on about February 20th, 2026, a little over a week before the end of the continuation period of the expired contract between Horizon and St. Joseph's Health, the parties finally agreed on terms. But keep in mind that this didn't get resolved until after Horizon's decision to lay off an additional 5% of its workforce. And whether letting the situation get this far was good management, I'll leave up to you to decide for yourself. Now, let's talk about the layoffs. Throughout 2025, Horizon conducted what they called targeted actions. Positions eliminated, employees let go. Those were the quiet rounds. No big announcements. But on January 26, 2026, about the same week that CVS made its announcement, Horizon filed notice with the New Jersey Department of Labor pursuant to the New Jersey Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, known as the WARN Act. That's New Jersey Statutes 3421. At least 242 additional employees were told that their jobs were gone, effective April 26. And when you add all the 2025 cuts, Horizon had reduced its workforce by roughly 8% in 13 months. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield argued that the cuts were necessary due to unprecedented financial challenges, but a significant portion of the public wasn't buying it. The irony of laying off rank and file workers while the company simultaneously dealt with massive financial settlements caused by corporate mismanagement. Horizon's Director of Public Affairs, Tom Wilson, assured the public, and I want to make sure I get this exactly right because this is the quote that made me want to make this video. "We do not take workforce reductions lightly. Employees whose positions were eliminated were treated with fairness and respect and will receive a generous separation package." Now, before we talk about what fairness, respect, or generous mean to Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, we need to talk about the New Jersey WARN Act because it's critical to understanding why Horizon's recent conduct toward its workers is such a betrayal. The New Jersey WARN Act is one of the strongest worker protection laws in this country. It was expanded in 2023, signed by Governor Murphy, to cover more workers, require longer notice periods, and mandate severance pay that cannot be waived without state or court approval. Under the WARN Act, when a company with at least 100 employees lays off 50 or more people at once, they have to give 90 days advance written notice, and they are legally required to pay each affected employee a minimum of 1 week of severance per year of service, without them having to agree to additional terms. That is not optional. It's not generous. It's the law. And that law exists because of stories just like this one, so that when a large corporation makes decisions that put people out of work, decisions made in boardrooms by people making $5 million a year, the workers who did their part don't just get thrown away. Now, about that generous separation package. If you're one of the hundreds of people who Horizon callously tossed aside, I'm sure this video will resonate with you. But Horizon isn't the only company to engage in practices like the ones I'm about to point out here. So pay attention if you want to learn more about some types of clauses to look out for in any severance agreement. How many weeks of severance did Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey generously offer the workers it laid off due to its executives' bad choices? 1 week of pay for every year's service. That's right, the statutory minimum that the New Jersey WARN Act already guarantees them, not 1 week more. In fact, employees who were short even a couple of months from another complete year were rounded down. Also, laid off employees could elect to continue their health insurance coverage for 18 months or longer if required by law, if you pay for the full premium out of your own pocket, plus a 2% administrative fee. The Federal Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, COBRA, guarantees you this right. Even though COBRA can cost the family $600 to $1,500 a month out of pocket, this coverage can still be a lifeline for workers losing their job, even if their employer isn't subsidizing their premium anymore. Of course, an employer could decide to be generous and continue to pay that premium as part of the severance. But Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey didn't offer that either. It also offered laid off employees their earned but unused leave and their 2025 Annual Incentive Program Bonus, or AIP, more offers of things to which the workers were already entitled. There was one thing Horizon offered beyond the bare minimum, though: a prorated share of the 2026 bonus, an unknown amount to be calculated and paid sometime in 2027, within 2 pay periods after current employees. And remember, the laid off employee's last day was April 26th. That's less than 4 months into a calendar year. So their prorated share of the 2026 bonus will be less than 1/3 of an amount that could drop yet again next year. Wait, a disclaimer. I can't tell you with certainty what every one of those 242 employees received, and that's by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey's design. I'll explain why in a moment. You see, that little 1/3 of a bonus wasn't offered for free. Here's what Horizon's agreement asked its workers to give up in exchange for it. First, a full release of all employment claims, every potential legal claim they had: age discrimination, race discrimination, gender discrimination, disability, retaliation, family leave violations, wrongful termination, everything. The agreement lists out over a dozen federal and state laws they would be waiving claims under, including, remarkably, the New Jersey and federal WARN Acts themselves. Whether some of these rights are even waivable is a question I'd encourage someone who sees a clause like this to discuss with an employment attorney. Now, the agreement does include language acknowledging that some claims are not waivable, and that if any of the waivers are not enforceable, the rest of the agreement is still valid. This is a technique corporations love to use, especially against people who don't have their own attorney. The worker reads a document that says they're releasing everything, with a small print qualifier that some of the rights they just signed away might not be legally waived, and they're left with no idea what they can actually still do. That confusion is not accidental. It's designed to keep people quiet by making them uncertain. The agreement also says that if a class action or a state or federal agency takes action on your behalf, a government agency suing Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey for what they did to workers, you are releasing your right to receive any damages from that action too. So even if the state steps in to fight for you, you've already signed away your right to collect. Second, an unlimited uncompensated cooperation clause. Paragraph 5 of the agreement says that you must assist Horizon with any legal proceeding, investigation, or dispute, but it's written with no time limit, no hourly rate, no cap. They could call you to testify 2 years from now, and you're legally obligated to show up for free, forever. For a company that just paid $100 million to settle fraud allegations and is under active investigation by a class action law firm. Third, several clauses designed to operate together as one big gag clause. Not only can you not pursue your own claims against Horizon, but paragraph 4 says you agree not to cooperate voluntarily in any claim, arbitration, lawsuit, investigation, or proceeding of any kind which relates to any matter that is against or involves Horizon, even one brought by other people, even by government agencies, unless you're compelled by court order, subpoena, or other lawful directive. And even then, you have to give Horizon 2 business days notice of what you're being required to do and exactly what it involves. Let me say that again. If a government agency subpoenas you to testify about something you witnessed at Horizon, this agreement says you have to contact Horizon's HR director within 2 business days and tell them what's coming. Remember when I said I couldn't tell you with certainty what all 242 employees received? Paragraph 6 of the agreement says the terms, facts, and amount of the settlement are confidential. The employee can't tell anyone except their attorney, their spouse, and their accountant. No one else. So if a worker accepts this bare minimum package, even though it's a slap in the face, because they can't fight back, because they're worn down, because they're worried about finding a new job, they just want to move on. They can't even let the public or the media know how they got treated. The Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey lied when it promised that it would treat its workers with fairness and respect and offer them a generous separation package. Paragraph 7 prohibits the laid off worker from discussing any confidential information with any other person. Then they define confidential information to include, but not be limited to, a list of items that include Horizon data, documents, products, strategies, and human resources personnel data. Paragraph 9 says you can't make statements that are maliciously untrue and which disparage or negatively portray the company. Paragraph 10 says that for 12 months, you can't directly or indirectly, personally or through others, interfere with Horizon's relationships with its employees, contractors, business relationships, and customers, including encouraging them to leave Horizon or stop doing business with them. What does confidential information mean? What is maliciously untrue? What does it mean to interfere with Horizon's relationships? This is all made even more confusing by a sentence buried in paragraph 9 that appears to contradict the majority of the gag clauses. For the avoidance of doubt, nothing in this agreement precludes the employee from disclosing information relating to workplace issues or terms and conditions of employment, or from assisting coworkers or former coworkers, or from communicating with others about this agreement or the worker's employment. Confused yet? So, if you complain about how Horizon treated you to a current or former Horizon employee, or if you talk to the media about how you were not actually treated with fairness or respect, or given a generous separation package in a way that makes customers want to choose another health insurance company instead of Horizon, or if you go on Glassdoor and warn people not to work there, or if you make a video like this one, have you violated the agreement? Again, this is confusing on purpose. The standard is vague enough that a company can use it to threaten former employees over negative comments, even truthful ones, without having to clear the much higher bar of an actual defamation lawsuit. And just to raise the stakes and intimidate you even more, paragraph 11 contains a forfeiture plus damages clause. If Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey decides you violated any of the gag clauses in paragraphs 6 through 10, they can not only pull back that 1/3 of a bonus they promised you, but they can also sue you for compensatory damages, punitive damages, and attorney's fees. So you can end up losing way more money than what you stand to gain from signing the agreement. These provisions are designed to chill speech. You don't have to be actually in violation for these gag clauses to do their job. You just have to worry that you might be. And for most people, that's enough to keep them quiet. It's also worth mentioning that Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield in New Jersey split the agreement into 2 parts so that they could have their cake and eat it too. The first release, which laid off workers were pressured to sign within 45 days, gave them nothing beyond the minimum the law already requires. Yet the company required them to sign this first release well in advance of their termination date, waving away their rights and getting nothing back in return, in order for them to get the chance to sign the second release, the one that actually created the right to the 1/3 of an annual bonus. Well, there are strategic reasons for Horizon to structure it this way, not worth spending too much time on here. I do want to point out that if something happened between the signing of the first release and the second that made you change your mind, you should consult an employment attorney as to whether you're actually still held to the first release without signing the second. Now, let me pull this all together. A not for profit health insurer that covers 40% of New Jersey allegedly defrauded the state for 4.5 years, paid $100 million to settle it, watched its credit rating get downgraded, posted a $302 million net loss, squeezed raises and bonuses for rank and file employees, gave its CEO a raise of $6.8 million, restructured itself to create for profit subsidiaries, lost CVS for 850,000 Medicaid patients, then laid off 8% of its own workforce over 13 months, and then told the public that the workers they let go received a generous separation package. The package was the legal minimum, wrapped in a gag clause, a forever cooperation clause, a requirement to warn the company whenever they're subpoenaed, a forfeiture provision, and less than 1/3 of an unknown annual bonus to be paid in 2027 as the entire basis for releasing every legal right they had. The New Jersey WARN Act exists precisely for situations like this, to prevent companies from taking advantage of employees when they lay them off. Horizon knows the law, but they continue to engage in shady practices and broken promises of dignity, respect, and generosity. If you receive a separation agreement from Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey or from any company, review it carefully and consider consulting an employment attorney. Know your rights, because companies like Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey will greedily and shamelessly steamroll you if you let them. And let's all remember how companies like this have acted when open season for health insurance enrollment in New Jersey comes back around later this year in November. They're hoping we won't remember, and they wonder why we don't trust health insurance companies. Welcome to my new channel, Policy Before Politics. If this video was helpful, please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.